In the name of Allah, the most magnificent, the most merciful. Honorable Chief Guest, President of the World Bank, Mr. David Robert Malpass. Respected Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, Dr. Reza Baqir. Executives and senior officials of SBP. Esteemed guests from the World Bank and industry. My fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon to all of you. I am Zila Tahir, and on behalf of State Bank of Pakistan, I welcome you all to the launching of National Payment Systems Strategy. Today's proceedings will commence with the recitation of sanctified verses from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
May I now request the esteemed Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, Dr. Reza Baqir, for his welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Reza Baqir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Zila. Let me begin by welcoming the President of the World Bank, Mr. David Malpass, to Pakistan and to the State Bank of Pakistan. A first time for him, and I hope not the last time for him to be here. I had the pleasure of seeing him yesterday in Islamabad with the Prime Minister, and I'm very happy that he was able to make the time in his busy schedule to visit us today at the launch of this very important event. Let me also welcome the senior staff from the World Bank who are accompanying him, Ms. Jela, Mr. Hartwig, and Mr. Ilango, amongst others who are here. And at the very beginning, Mr. President, let me tell you that we at the State Bank have very much appreciated the help that we have gotten from the World Bank in the area, and particularly the help from your staff in the Payments Development Group. This is one example where the World Bank has teamed up very well to assist the authorities, and my staff are full of nothing but praise for your staff who have worked with us in this area. So I thank you for that, and I thank all the cooperation we've received from the World Bank's office in Pakistan. But most importantly, let me welcome all the stakeholders who are here in the audience today. You represent banks, you represent fintechs, you represent other institutions, and you are the most important people with us here today, because what we are launching today, your ownership of it, and the way you take it forward will ultimately make it successful. So I welcome you, and I thank you for making the time to be here today. The State Bank of Pakistan in 2015 published its Vision 2020, which laid out its strategic objectives for the coming 5 years. Now, development of a national payment systems strategy was one of the core objectives of this strategy. And today, I'm very glad that with the help of the World Bank, we are being able to launch this. In very simple terms, this strategy lays out a roadmap for a modern and robust digital payments network. And the main reason we are holding this event today is to bring attention to this important area and to signal that this will be a key priority of the State Bank going forward. As you know, for the last couple of years especially, the State Bank of Pakistan has been very preoccupied with perhaps slightly bigger order issues of external sustainability and dealing with the level of reserves that was falling. But with our recent reforms and the preliminary signs of positive progress that has been made, we on our end are increasingly shifting our focus to structural areas in the financial sector where reforms are overdue. And making a push on the digital payments strategy is one area that we are planning to push forward. But why is it important to have a digital payment strategy? And this is the first question that I want to address. And I want to talk about what are the benefits of this to the people, setting aside the fancy pictures that you will see and the jargon that you see. Ultimately, why should this be relevant for the people? Well, in very simple terms, the key goal of this strategy and the key results of its implementation will be that it will make it easier for the people to access the financial system. Right now, the primary way for people to do this is through banks. We have our banker friends in the audience, in fact, and they have made important progress in the area of making banking services accessible to people. I'd particularly like to mention the efforts of HBL, of Telenor Microfinance Bank, of Mobilink Bank, Bank Al-Falah, Bank Al-Habib, to name just a few which have worked hard to make it easier for people to access finance and for the onboarding of merchants. If I have not mentioned other banks, it's not because you're not doing good work, it's just that these are some of the examples that particularly come to our mind. At the same time, our banker friends will, I'm sure, realize that there is a lot more to be done to make it easier for people to access the financial system. This strategy that we are launching today will make it easier for new companies to enter the market and ultimately make it easier for people to access the system, which means for the people, it will be easier to make payments, it will be easier to receive payments, it will be easier to save, and it will be easier to plan for your financial future. Giving people greater return on their savings is a particularly important area which we hope will also be addressed by further digitization and further financial access. Let me give you one example. It is unfortunate today that given that our policy rate, which is so much in discussion, is 13.25%, yet if you look at the average savings interest rate that is given to the bank's customers on the stock of all outstanding deposits, that's only about 6.5%. We want greater returns on savings so that that is a way in which savings can be encouraged. And therefore, digital inclusion is very much part of our strategy to encourage savings, which ultimately will provide the pool of domestic resources for financing investment and for Pakistan to have to rely less on external inflows for financing our investment. So we think that this payments strategy and its implementation will give more financial power in the hands of the people. And in many areas, it will give competition to banks. I hope that our friends in the banks will welcome this competition, not resist it, and realize that they will stand more to benefit from the total size of the pie that will be increased as a result of the successful implementation of this strategy. Now, making it easier to access the financial system is one key benefit of this strategy. But another very important benefit to us in the State Bank is that this is going to help promote our agenda on financial inclusion, and particularly helping women to gain access in the financial system. Pakistan currently ranks low overall in terms of financial inclusion, and particularly on the gender balance in financial inclusion. At the same time, as women do not have accounts at the same rate as in other countries, many women do have mobile phones, which is one way in which this agenda helps. As one example, if we can make it easier for women to get access to the financial system on their phones, we can help to reduce the gender gap in financial inclusion. In this area, I feel one of our key stakeholders is men. In fact, most of you in the audience are men. And we are a key stakeholder in this. While the payment strategy will make it easier to have access, it is important for us as men to encourage our wives, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters to make more use of this, and more generally to encourage women to have access to the financial system. Now, while these are some of the benefits to the people that we think will come about from making progress on a digital strategy, there are also some benefits for the state bank. First, a greater reliance on digital means that we have greater documentation of the economy, and we have less cash. The cost of cash right now for us is huge, and Pakistan is one of the countries that stands out for having a very large ratio of cash to deposits. It will also be our key responsibility, as well as the responsibility of the digital payments providers, to ensure cybersecurity and minimize the risks of electronic fraud. Let me say that enhancing cyber resilience will remain one of the key priorities of the State Bank. But despite these risks, let me tell you that I can safely say that for the people, it is safer to keep your money in a bank than it is to keep it as cash in your house, because as cash, it's subject to theft, it's subject to robbery, even taking into account the risks that may exist from fraud and from cybersecurity. It is much safer to save in the financial system than otherwise. So given all these benefits of a digital payment strategy, what is the role of the State Bank in this area? First, we fully own the National Payment System Strategy and will work together with all relevant stakeholders for its implementation. The State Bank will collaborate with the federal and provincial governments, regulatory bodies, banks, non-banks, and other main players in the payments ecosystem to play its role in achieving the targets that have been laid down. As you are aware, we've been working with the World Bank. We've been engaged with them for some time. We organized a digital payments workshop earlier last month, in which some of you as key stakeholders were present, in which we developed some key action items that had to be undertaken. Some of those included commitments on the part of the State Bank. One of those had to do with the rules for digital onboarding of merchants to widen the digital payment space in Pakistan. And I'm happy to say that we had promised to you that we would do it by the end of the month, and I have already signed those. So those should be coming out very shortly over the weekend, I expect. As the lead implementer in this space, the State Bank has already made significant progress on the responsibilities assigned to the different parties for accelerating the licensing of non-bank e-money institutions as well. I am pleased to say that the State Bank, as a regulator, has always adopted a proactive approach to innovation. Going forward, as part of the implementation strategy, the State Bank will continue to focus on strengthening the legal and regulatory framework to bring it in line with international best practice. And as I mentioned earlier, our main areas of focus would be digitizing retail payments, for which we have to find ways of increasing digital access points and introducing new digital instruments in the country. We would like to give the challenging target of digitizing 1 million new informal merchant locations within the next 3 years. We will also continue to engage and fully support the federal and provincial governments for digitizing their collections and payments. Let me come to one very important area which the State Bank has been promoting, and I feel will be critical for making progress on this space, and that is to implement the micropayment gateway that some of you are familiar with. This would be the faster payment system of Pakistan. It will make it much easier for people to connect and send and receive money, as well as to save. And this new and advanced payment system will give an extraordinary opportunity to service providers in the country to offer innovative and a wide variety of digital solutions. It is important and critical that there be ownership of this project, and particularly those institutions, including banks and others, are open to embracing it, because without the cooperation of all the key stakeholders, we will not be able to realize the intended benefits of the micropayments gateway. So I have to encourage all of the stakeholders to embrace it and tell us wherever you have concerns, so we can continue to organize meetings and areas of collaboration for you that any issues can be addressed. When we met about a month ago with many of you stakeholders, some key issues were identified by you. And I'm very happy to say that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has agreed to take 3 of the key actions that you had identified. The first was the interoperability of the USSD channels that requires action on the part of the Pakistan Telecom Authority. In simple words, this is going to make it easy if you have an EasyPaisa account to send money to somebody who has a M-wallet in some other telecom company such as Jazz or any other bank. Right now, it's difficult. This interoperability will allow that to happen. A second key area which had been identified by the group, which the Prime Minister has also supported, is to allow access by banks and electronic money institutions to the database at the PMD, the database of national identity cards and SIM cards. This is a very valuable database that new entrants need access to, and the Prime Minister has also signaled his full support for making this happen. And finally, and the third area that was identified was that the cost of accessing NADRA's database to get information for knowing your customer purposes, and to make that cost lower, and to make it easier for new entrants to know the cost structure. So this is one example of where we are looking forward to working with all the stakeholders to make progress on those areas which are currently identified as holding back the development of the digital space. I want to end, and it would be remiss of me to end without doing what I'm about to do, which is to recognize all those in the State Bank who have worked tirelessly to help make this happen and to put this event. I want to recognize one of our executive directors, Mr. Samar Hasnan, and also particularly I want to recognize Mr. Sohail Javad. Where is he? I would like him to please stand up, and his team. If his team can also stand up wherever you are, I want to really recognize you for the hard work that you have done. Some of them are standing in the background. Mr. President and their guests, this work would not have been possible had it not been for the hard work that is done by Sohail and his team. I want to thank all of them, and I want to thank all of you for coming here today.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Director, Payment Systems Department, State Bank of Pakistan, Syed Sohail Jawad, for a presentation on National Payment Systems Strategy.
Thank you, Zila. Honorable Chief Guest, distinguished guest, Governor Sahab. Assalamu alaikum. Before I do a formal and a very quick presentation on the strategy and various aspects of the strategy, we would like to show you a short video that covers the payment landscapes that is there in Pakistan today, please.
Pakistan, a country with a population of over 200 million and 60% of it under 30 years of age, is ripe for a digital revolution. Pakistan's banking sector has been expanding since its independence and has played a key role in offering financial services in the country. A network of banks with online branches, interoperable ATMs, and point-of-sale machines offers a wide range of services to the public. Embracing the latest innovations in payment systems at retail level, they are offering a variety of options like payment cards, internet banking, call centers, and mobile applications. Pakistan also joined the club of countries having its own domestic card scheme. PayPal, introduced in 2016, has gained a sizable share in terms of issuance and usage since then. Pakistan's real-time gross settlement system, known as PRISM, offers systematically safe and secure settlements for large value payments. Operated by the State Bank, the system settles the bulk of the transactions every year. To improve financial inclusion in the country, State Bank introduced and promoted the innovative branchless banking model, which has been globally hailed as an innovative solution to enhance financial outreach. Today, a wide range of banking agents cater to the basic financial needs of a large segment of population that has previously remained unserved. To promote digitization of payments, State Bank has also been encouraging new players like payment system operators and service providers, and more recently, e-money institutions to offer innovative digital solutions and products in the country. Pakistan has made promising strides over the last few years in e-banking. The volume and value of retail e-banking transactions has almost doubled. The number of branchless banking wallets has witnessed exponential growth. The number of internet banking and mobile financial application users has also grown decently. Online shopping, bill payments, and government collections and payments are also witnessing growth. In May 2018, digital channels for paying duties and taxes were also introduced through which the revenue authorities collected a sizable amount. E-commerce payments using digital instruments and channels are also on the rise. Despite these significant developments, the pace of digital transformation is slower than its peer countries. Payments infrastructure is mostly concentrated in few large cities, and a ratio of 8 branches and 7 ATMs per 100,000 persons is much below than that of comparable countries. Branchless banking is mostly confined to over-the-counter cash transactions, and wallets remain unused because of lack of use cases. Widespread use of cash still remains a huge challenge. But the opportunity for cashless payments is enormous, with over 162 million cellular and 72 million 3G, 4G subscribers, and increasing use of smartphones and NADRA's digital identity database. This offers great potential for innovative products and solutions to meet customers' needs. To accelerate the momentum of digital payments in the country, State Bank of Pakistan, with the support of World Bank, has developed a national payment systems strategy, which sets the roadmap for developing modern and robust digital payment systems in the country. According to World Bank, digital transformation of the economy will result in the boosting of GDP by 7%, creation of 4 million jobs, $263 billion in new deposits, and will represent a potential market of $36 billion by 2025. Pakistan, with its young and vibrant population, is ready to take the challenge and enter into a new era of digitization.
Thank you. Now I'll start with my presentation very quickly, and the first slide is about the role of, can you change the slide? Is about the role of SBP in digitization. And you can see that SBP has the responsibility of developing infrastructure. It's an operator of digital payment systems. It provides policies and enabling regulations. It performs oversight of the payment systems in the country. And more importantly, I think most importantly, it acts as a catalyst of innovation. That's what we try to do. We try to meet everyone out there and facilitate them when it comes to offering new products and services. Like the governor said, the strategy has been developed as part of, as a very important tactical objective of the strategic goal, which is developing a modern and robust payment systems, which was laid out in Vision 2020 of SBP. This slide shows the situation of infrastructure that we have. So we have PRISM, which is the largest payment system in the country. It processes on the average daily 1.5 trillion rupees transactions, and it settles all major systems in it. It settles government transactions, it settles SBP's transactions, it facilitates remittances. So this is a very important system. But despite having all these systems in place, and as you saw in the video and as was said by the governor himself, that we still have issues and challenges. Of course, we all know it's a cash-dominated economy. We have an issue of low documentation of economy, and we have got, if you look at the payment systems in Pakistan, actually a transaction in cash is subsidized, because the private sector don't have to pay anything for that. But if you look at digital payments, it's actually the cost is covered by the private sector, by everyone involved. So it seems like it's a costly proposal. Most SMEs and MSMEs have their manual systems, which it's very difficult to integrate that system with the digital payment systems. Despite we have made progress in tax collections in recent years, most of the government transactions are still processed manually. We feel that banks, although they have played a good role, but they need to do more, and they need to reduce their dependence on just payment schemes and come up with new systems. That's why we are doing the micropayment gateway, which promotes the instant transfer of funds at retail level. Interoperability, we feel it's inadequate. We have full interoperability of ATMs and POS machines, but we still have to do a lot of work in ensuring that the the interoperability of USSD channel and other channels that are being deployed is achieved. Digital onboarding is a challenge for us, because we have to take care of KYC issues. When we onboard customers, we only have NADRA. We are lucky to have NADRA, biometric verification system, but issues are there, and that are being addressed, like the governor said. And then I would like to mention cybersecurity and other technology-related issues. SBP, as the regulator and overseer of payment systems, is fully cognizant that the security issues are increasing, and we need to work in the area of cybersecurity to ensure that customers' trust remains there when they use digital channels. So now, coming to the National Payment System strategies, what does it do? So the strategy actually makes recommendations for designing a safe and inclusive and efficient national payment systems. It's based on international standards and best practices, and thanks to the World Bank team, there are two major standards that we have used while doing this strategy. One is the CPMI ISCO Principles for Financial Markets Infrastructures. The principles that have been recommended have been incorporated in the strategy, and the other is the CPMI World Bank's Payment Aspect for Financial Inclusion Framework, and we have taken recommendations from there as well. The strategy covers 6 main areas, and these areas are payment infrastructure, retail market, government payments, legal and regulatory framework, remittance market, and oversight. So strategy recommends certain actions that needs to be taken. There are altogether about 75 action items. Some of them overlap each other, so you may see an action item relating to payments infrastructure, but that may apply to government transactions as well, for example. And there are many stakeholders that have been identified in these strategies. So that includes Government of Pakistan, provincial governments, and then SECP, PTA, NADRA, and there are some others, BISP. So what is there in payments infrastructure? So if I try to summarize the payments infrastructure recommendations, so one, the strategy recommends that for retail transactions, we need to have a faster payment systems, and that's why we are doing the micropayment gateway. And we have had, I'm glad to report that we have had very useful and successful sessions with the banking and payments industry very recently, and there have been very good feedback on the gateway design itself. The second is we are going to be upgrading or replacing our existing RTGS system with a new state-of-the-art auto transfer system. The auto transfer system will have 2 components. One, for gross settlement of large value transactions, which is what the RTGS does, and the other is an ACH functionality. So larger value transactions, if somebody wants to send them or settle them on a deferred basis, they'll be settled using the ATS functionality. Third is we'll be promoting interoperability at all levels. When that happens, how that happens will be the decision of the regulator based on the market that requires interoperability. There is one very useful, I think, recommendation in the document that we could have, and we could think about having a shared platform for government transactions, where the transactions could be processed and then sent to the payment systems, either it's ATS or it's MPG. And I think that's a very important recommendation. And finally, we need to focus on increasing the digital access points. We have only 14,000, a little over 14,000 ATMs, about 50,000 POS machines, and that is really inadequate. And that's why we've set the target of having about 1 million additional informal merchant access points within the next 3 years. I just included this slide and I'll briefly go through it. This is how we foresee the national payment systems infrastructure to be in the years to come. And you can see that on the left, we have the ATS, proposed ATS, which comprises of RDGS and the ACS system. And on the right, left side, you can see there is a micropayment gateway, which would be an instant payment system. It will have a directory service, which would give ease of use to customers so that they don't have to use long account numbers. They can use their mobile numbers, for example, to send payments to each other. Bulk payment facility would be there, and easier onboarding would be handled by a full-fledged API gateway. And of course, because State Bank is doing it, so there will be mandatory participation for everyone out there. And then on the top, you see that we recognize the role of private payment gateways. So we have got OneLink, who does ATMs and other switches. We have got VRG, which is a new switch offering new products in the market. We are going to have a NIFT payment gateway. So we are going to have private gateways for e-commerce, for bill aggregation, for merchant aggregations, and a host of other services. Because if the size of the pie is going to increase, there will be other services, other use cases, and we want the private sector to continue to play its role there. On the legal and regulatory framework side, the strategy recommends strengthening our legal framework, which we started working on that. Our Payment Systems and Electronic Fund Transfers Act, there are certain recommendations relating to how we can further strengthen the act. We have already formed a National Consultative Council, National Payments Council of Pakistan, and very soon we'll be calling its first meeting. Of course, the strategy highly recommends that we open up the market from banks to non-banks, and that's what we have done. In April, we issued the regulations for e-money institutions, and that was the first step. And we'll continue to encourage new non-banking institutions, anybody who is interested in offering payment services. And then the strategy recommends that SBP regulate any entity who is providing payment services. Any entity who wants to offer payment services should be fully regulated by the State Bank. On the retail side, we all know there is a prevalence and dominance of cash there, and I like to say that cash is not the king in our country, it's probably an emperor there. So we need to do something about that. And the strategy recommends that we offer incentives to stimulate the use of electronic payments, maybe incentives relating to taxes, maybe incentives relating to lowering of duties on the digital items like POS machines and ATMs. We have to, and we are doing this, studying the impact of various fees in the industry, including interchange fees, including fees by NADRA, and any other fees that impacts the cost to the service providers and to the customers. And then the strategy recommends that we enhance awareness about digital payments, and then we focus on special use cases like bulk payments, like wages, salary transfers, merchants, SMEs, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward while implementing the strategy. The strategy recommends that for government payments, we should work together to foster adoption of electronic payments by all government entities, and the strategy strongly recommends that SBP provide its full support and technical assistance to any government entity, whether it's federal or provincial, to do that. I'm glad to say that we are doing that. Last year, most of you may know that the collection of taxes by FBR and duties by customs was enabled using our digital channels that we have. And since May last year, we have collected about over 280 billion rupees, which for me is a quite significant amount, keeping in view that previously it was all cash. And then I already talked about the shared government platforms. So the use cases here would be salaries, pensions, government pensions, social disbursements. They form a huge and a big use case, and other government collections. Oversight mostly relates to what we do in a state bank. So we have a full-fledged oversight division in the payments department. So the strategy recommends that we review and strengthen our oversight framework. We did first review last year, and we'll be reviewing it again, hopefully in the next year. Our data collection is already liked by many out there. People say that the data is very useful. We are working on that. Data will form the cornerstone of our oversight strategy. We'll continue to collect more data. We'll continue to collect more variables because data helps in product innovation, helps in policy making for us as well. So we'll continue to do that. And data, of course, it results in transparency. We'll be designating payment systems and payment instruments as per the law going forward. And then the strategy recommends that we undertake the PFMI self-assessment of critical payments infrastructure. We did the first self-assessment, and we'll be doing the second round very soon. And finally, in remittances, strategy recommends that we consider expanding the scope of PRI programs to allow non-banks, and then there could be multi-purpose accounts and flexible payment instruments. The strategy highly recommends that the remittance product design and features needs to improve, and we work with the industry on that. It recommends direct deposits of home remittance transfers via straight-through processing. We already did that. We opened up RTGS, and I'm glad to say that a number of new remittances are being directly deposited into customers' beneficiaries' accounts using RTGS system. And very important, consumer protection. We'll continue to further strengthen the consumer protection. To sum it up, what would be the policy direction as we move forward? So the policy focus of State Bank of Pakistan would be on increasing digital access points. We'll promote not just EMIs, but any non-bank entity who wants to come and play a role here. We'll promote instant payments. We'll work on standardization and interoperability. We would like the industry to adopt the ISO 20022 standard and other standards that are there. We already implemented the EMV standards as well. We'll promote QR codes, we'll promote domestic payment schemes, and we'll work on reducing the interchange fee. I know some of the schemes don't like this, but we'll continue to do that. We'll facilitate fintechs. We are working on establishing a regulatory sandbox. We're working with World Bank on that again. Thanks for that. And then if EMIs want access to customer accounts, then we need a customer consent architecture for third-party access to accounts, and we're doing that. And very soon we'll be issuing a first circular in a series of circulars that's going to come. And finally, we'll be enhancing the cybersecurity framework. We already did first cybersecurity circular last year, the famous Circular 9, which lays out stringent requirements for banks and other service providers. And very soon we'll be doing the second round of those requirements for enhanced cybersecurity related coordination framework. We'll be issuing a mobile app security framework. I am glad to say that our framework is in draft stages. It's liked by many international agencies. We are working with ITU on improving that. And then we'll be working on improving the oversight of virtual assets. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. I feel privileged to now invite our chief guest, Honorable President of the World Bank, Mr. David Malpass, for his keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Mr. David Malpass.
Thank you very much. I think we saw the highlight of this, which is the launch of the national payment system, and I want to congratulate the governor and the central bank, all the people that worked on it for the launch. I'm very happy to be here in Pakistan, and here specifically in Karachi and at the State Bank of Pakistan. I want to thank the governor for a very pleasant lunch. We had a good conversation on the digital payment system, and I'd like to congratulate again everyone for the launch. I'll give you some background and then talk in more general points. Traditionally, financial improvements in financial inclusion in Pakistan have been gradual. the account ownership increased from 10% to 21% of adults during 2011 through 2017. During that same period of time, account ownership in Indonesia grew from 20% to 51%, and in India grew from 35% to 80%. Additionally, there are gaps of various sorts in Pakistan. The usage has still not reached the critical mass needed to shift consumer behaviors. For example, digital transactions are at less than 1 transaction per person per year, compared with Indonesia at 7.6. This means there's potential, great potential, to be unlocked in Pakistan, and the launch today is an important step. So congratulations. It's coming, the launch, I think, and the movement, this effort by the central bank is coming at a good time because there's been time to stabilize after the start of the new administration, and that stabilization will, I think, facilitate growth going forward. And so there's been challenges as this has happened, but the central bank's been able to stop to separate from fiscal policy, the monetary policy, and the monetization that had been occurring. That's a very important step. And the rupee has become a flexible currency and has operated pretty well during the stabilization phase. And this is, I think, key in setting the stage for progress ahead. So it's coming at a good time to launch a deeper digital payment system. The system can be, I think, easy to use, affordable, and interoperable, and create solutions for individuals and for businesses. I was pleased with the presentation because I heard quite a few deadlines. You know, this is something that's happening now, and I think that's very important. So as we look at it, I hope that the State Bank can implement the micropayment gateway with the private sector, maybe within 6 months. This is a real-time kind of launch, and we've also looked at and encouraged the National Database and Registration Authority, the NADRA, to make verification costs minimal and open. That will facilitate this process. And also the Pakistan Telecommunications Authority can allow for interoperability through the USSD channels. And again, this is happening, we hope, real time as this launch is going forward. So overall, the regulatory framework can be open, allow for interoperability, and foster innovation. For the banks and telecommunications companies and fintech businesses should collaborate to increase the number of formal individuals and businesses using the system. The system becomes more powerful, more effective as more people use it. And this means working collaboratively on innovation, interoperability, and increasing access points. So we saw some of that on the slides. And the upside is something that we didn't hear very much about, but I'll try to give a crack at it. If this can be done, it allows faster growth because it brings into the financial system many more players. The cost of transactions goes down. That's very important, and I think easy to underestimate how powerful that is. As the cost of transactions go down, it levels the playing field between genders, so women and men are both able to access the system. It allows small businesses to to engage, to meet their customers, to meet their suppliers. It can allow remittances, which can be a powerful source of financing. There's the safety angle and the efficiency and effectiveness angle that can all be created with this system. So I think it's a good opportunity to say that the State Bank of Pakistan has played the role of putting this together, and so I think it's a good concept that can continue, because part of making this a success will be listening to all of the players and trying to forge a way forward that's collaborative. So I do want to take a minute on the World Bank's role. The World Bank has been leading in the global push for digital financial inclusion. And in Pakistan, I'm very pleased to have my very strong team here. And we've said to the governor can call me, the governor can call people of our team, his staff can call our team, because we want to help make this work. This is important for Pakistan, and it's and we have the resources and the drive, the energy to help implement or to help provide assistance as you implement the National Payment Systems strategy. So I want to thank Jela, Ilango, Hart, who are here and can always be available to discuss how to make this system a success. So with that, thank you very much, Governor, for a fine lunch, and congratulations on the launch of this system that can bring so many benefits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your address. Now I request the Honorable Chief Guest and the Governor, SBP, to please launch the National Payment Systems Strategy.
Just to make sure everybody knows, what this launch means is that I'm going to click a button, and when that button is clicked, hopefully, a QR code is going to appear. Once the QR code appears, I will ask you, actually, you can bring out your cell phones right now. You will scan it using your camera, and hopefully, once you do that, the actual national payment strategy will appear on your phone. So let me give you a minute for all of you to bring out your phones before the QR code comes on the screen, and then let's keep our fingers crossed for you to actually receive it on your phone. And if for any reason there is a glitch and it doesn't appear on your phone, we have a scanned QR code in a hard copy that we will give you and assure you that the strategy is out there and is ready to be launched. So here goes.
You may need to enable the QR scanning on your cell phones for this. In case you wish to have soft copy of the strategy, please leave your visiting cards on the reception desk, and the document will be sent to you electronically. As we come to the close of this event, may I request the respectable Governor, SBP, to present the winner to our Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. David Malpass. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the close of our program. I would take this opportunity to thank our honorable chief guest for his valuable presence. I would also like to thank all the guests for taking time out of their busy schedules for being with us here today. I acknowledge and thank all the team members for their cooperation and efforts in arranging this event. Please proceed for refreshments at the adjacent venue. Our team is there to guide the way. Thank you.